Is it possible to measure the strength of the knot? Sure you may. Will the fortress of any particular knot be true for all the ropes? The strength of a knot depends on many factors and directly depends on the material, thickness and design of the rope. People have long noticed that the same knots on different materials behave differently. Silk does not hold a knot, says an Italian proverb, since on a smooth silk thread many knots crawl and untie. If you don't have to choose between static and dynamic rope, then before a hard or braided rope, it will be preferable to have a soft rope, since only on a soft rope will the segments in the knot fit snugly together. Fill the empty spaces in the knot, and the friction in such a knot is always higher than friction in the knot of a rigid rope. Compared to a hard rope, knots do not crawl on a soft rope, the rope segments do not spring, and the tightened knots are not untied spontaneously. We are not talking about a particular rope, synthetic or natural fiber rope, we mean a soft rope in general. If we compare the strength indices of the same units from different sources, we can see that they are different, and sometimes even very different. Why do not the percentages of the strength of nodes from different sources coincide? Because the tested nodes are tied on ropes of different kind, design and made of different materials. The percentage of the strength of the tested node also depends on the diameter of the rope and the design of test benches. The test conditions cannot be exactly the same for everyone, since there is different humidity, temperature and air pressure in the room. All these factors also affect the rope and through it the knot. The same test node is tied not strictly the same. The neatness of the pattern and knot tightness cannot be exactly the same for each knot. Therefore, for example, a figure of 9 loop in one case, without haste tied up and neatly straightened, will be stronger than the overhand loop, and in another case, tied hastily and not straightened properly, will be weaker. That is, the same knot will have different strength at each knotting. And the more complex the node, the greater will be the separation of the values of strength. From the complexity of the knot and the type of rope, the difference in the strength of a single knot can be 15 to 20%. Therefore, the published knot strength tables show only a general picture, and they should simply be taken into account. In general, you need to keep in mind that the knot loosens the rope by about 50%. And no matter how many knots are tied to a rope, its practical strength decreases by the amount of weakening the weakest knot. In the book of A.P. Shamov, Methods and Schemes of Tying Knots Are No Use in Tourist Equipment, we read the following. In Ukraine, I had the opportunity to work in a laboratory for research strength of various materials, resistance of materials. On dynamometer machines conducted more than 1,440 tests, more than 2,000 meters of a capron rope were torn. The weakening of the strength of the rope in each node was determined by 12 experiments. The best and worst results, as random, were not taken into account, the rest were processed accordingly. This is the result of this work. And below is a table of the loss of strength of the rope in knots in percent. Here we see that the knots were tested only on a capron rope, and all indicators of the knot's strength should relate only to this material. By the way, A.P. Shamov does not indicate the thickness of the rope, which has a great influence on the strength of the knot, but the main error of the testers is that the best and worst results, as random, were not taken into account, but this is one of the important indicators of the knot. At figure of 9 loop, for example, the variation of the values of maintaining strength in different types of materials of rope from 65 to 85%, and at the bowline knot, from 45 to 75%. Knots, in which the value of strength is a large variation, should be knit with great care. A novice, tying such a knot, will most likely tie a knot very strong, while the more experienced knitter, who binds or ties the rope slowly, straightened and neatly tightened knot will be stronger and safer. The neatness of the design and the tightening of the knot, for each knitting knot, will be different. In order for the knot to really come out strong and reliable, before finally tightening the knot, it must first be properly straightened, the rope in the knot must be aligned, correct slags, remove overlaps and twisting of the rope along its axis. The strength and safety of the knot depends very much on who knits the knot and how to knit it, and you should not relax, even if the knot is very strong and secure, or you have tied the knot many times already.